Hey girl, hey. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It with me, your host, Sean Monet. The podcast where we dive deep into the challenges and triumphs of life in your 20s through the lens of a resilient Black woman. I am here to share my experiences, thoughts, and insights on everything from dealing with PCOS to navigating the intricate dance of friendship and family while climbing the professional ladder. This is a safe space where real conversations happen and no topic is off limits. Every now and then, we'll be joined by special guests, experts, friends, and thought leaders who will add their unique perspectives to the conversation. Together, we'll explore the controversial, the personal, and the impactful. So get ready to laugh, learn, cry, and maybe even challenge your own beliefs. So let's talk about it because life's journey is sweeter when we navigate it together. Our word of the day is recovery, a return to our normal state of health, mind, or strength. The action or process of regaining possession or control of something stolen or lost. Because this month was out of control and I felt like I lost my damn mind. And now I feel as though I am in recovery mode. But when you're navigating through difficult situations, it can be a long, strenuous process to feel like your normal self. On this episode, I am continuing the Mayhem series. And I'm going to talk about my relationships with my toxic father and why I don't like to be referred to as the strong one all the time. Parents. Your parents are the first human beings that you meet when you enter this world. They are your first superhumans that are meant to love, care, and protect you unconditionally until the day you die. But for some people, they aren't as fortunate to receive parents like that. They're given parents who find delight in tearing you down and causing you pain. And like I said, on this episode, I'm going to be talking about toxic parents. So, what does that mean? A toxic parent refers to, or often refers to, a parent that instills fear, guilt, and obligations in a child's life, ultimately negatively affecting their lives for years to come. They will never apologize for their actions. And in my case, it hasn't happened. You know, some people might say they're sorry, but they don't know what they're apologizing for, or they're, in quotations, apologizing because they are trying to smooth it over just to have access to you again. And that has happened in my case a few times. Like, you don't even know what you're apologizing for. But I'm gonna move on because I can sit on that for a minute, and I may double back and talk about it later. So abuse isn't always physical. It's not always physical. It can be things like verbal threats, gaslighting, shifting blame, and name calling. Till this day, the only man that has ever called me out of my name is him. Being uncaring and disregarding your needs. In my case, having outbursts at all times of the night and day, knowing my siblings and I had to be at school the next day. Persistent scolding and being made to feel guilty for simply existing. I was only a kid in the third grade when I knew he had hated my guts for an unknown reason. And wait, it wasn't just him, it was his mom, my grandmother, both constantly belittling and bullying a defenseless kid. Can you imagine? It's literally insane. Though I've always known this to be true, recently it was just confirmed by someone who watched this all happen in real time. And it broke me again. It broke me again. And I may chuckle here and there, but it's more like a nervous chuckle. It's not, I'm not happy about this at all. It doesn't feel good. It really put me down in the dumps. It made my month hell because I could have lived my whole life without knowing that. But shit, it's like, like I've said it on this podcast before. Inner is bliss, and I always tell people sometimes I wish I didn't know certain things. I feel like I'd be much happier without knowing them. If I'm being honest, it is what it is. Disagree if you like. This month, like I said, had already been really difficult, and I've stated this in my previous episode. But that was like the grand finale. That was like the fireworks going off, on the 4th of July. That was it. It was it was something. It was so awful. I don't think I've ever cried so much. My eyes were super swollen, like unrecognizable. Just eyes swollen, just puffy. And I called out of work. I had a really long weekend. Thank goodness for PTO, and mental health days, because it tore me up. But that behavior from them went on to get worse. As I grew up, until I was able to put a roof over my head. I didn't look back after loading up my car in a U-Haul van. I was 20. I was 20 years old when I moved out. I had got my first full-time job with health benefits and everything in August. And by the time December had come around, by the time it came around, I had already had my bed, a microwave, a sofa, a TV, pots and pans, sitting in the basement, just collecting, just piling up. And it was like a dark inside, like the basement, so no one could really see what was down there. He worked a lot, so he did not have a fucking clue that I was planning my escape or planning to leave, even though he had threatened to kick me out on numerous occasions. Over the years, I attempted to build a relationship with my parents. And I don't talk about my mom a lot simply because she just wasn't there at all. And that's a conversation for a different day. She just wasn't there. Just wasn't there. So it's like, well, you weren't there. You couldn't really do much damage because you just wasn't in the picture. But that had a whole different effect on me, like her just not being there, because I didn't feel protected. But I've tried to build a relationship with my parents time and time again, but the blame shifting continued, and I found myself feeling drained. It was getting me nowhere. It was just causing me a ton of anxiety whenever I saw like their name come across my phone. It was I was over it, completely over it. Because it's like everyone had forgot what they had done. Like whenever people, hurt you and stuff, and the moment you bring it back up, it's like, what? That didn't happen like that. I didn't make up my entire existence. I was there. You were there. Multiple people were there. And they did nothing about it. And last year, I made the conscious decision to go no contact with both of them. I had cut off contact with my grandma years ago. As soon as I got a car, it was no need to go over her house. It was no need to see her. I feel like you can love and deal with people from a distance. If I see you, it's hot and by if I'm in the mood. But for the most part, it's nothing. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people, also if you hear me making tapping sounds and moving around a lot, I'm doing my makeup because doing my makeup brings me peace. It calms me down. And this topic is really deep. And even when I don't talk about my podcast, it gets like people find it and listen to it. So that brings me anxiety even thinking about it. But if I do my makeup, I don't think too hard into it. But anyways, a lot of people who don't understand what it's like to have shitty parents or shitty family members will say things like, you only get one mom and dad. They are the reason that you're here. And here's the thing. For anybody who thinks that, and I've had people say this to my face, but here's what I have to say about that. They only got one Chandria. They only got one me. Why should I be subjected to mistreatment because I'm the child in the situation? Why does the kid have to take shit from their parents, right? Why? Parents are meant to love and protect their children. If I don't know what it means to feel that, what exactly am I missing out on? I'd rather face reality than hope that one day they would choose me over themselves for once. But then it's not even choose me. Choose my siblings. Because I'm not the only child. I have other siblings. But specifically my dad. His attack was on me though. It was, and that's just that. Not saying my siblings got we got 5-star treatment. They didn't get 2-star treatment either. They didn't get 2-star treatment either. It took a long time to, talk to my siblings about it. I think now they're just now getting it, given the recent news. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Life is so beautiful and precious. They had 20 plus years to make it right. Excuse me. And now I have to choose myself and live for myself. Funny story. When I first moved out, I moved into an apartment complex, and my mom also lived in that same apartment complex. Legit, maybe 15 steps away. She was not far at all. I stayed there for a year and a half, and I've only seen her 2 or 3 times. People show you who they are, and you have to believe it. And I don't like feeling rejected, and that's how I felt, right? Because I've tried numerous times. We just could never be on the same page because of the whole blame shifting thing. It's whenever people do things to you, they swear that they didn't do anything. But I'm you actually did a lot, and this is what you did, and this is how you made me feel. But no, I'm making all this stuff up. None of this stuff happened. I'm being delusional, right? Me, I'm the problem. That's crazy. And since cutting off contact with them And it's been difficult not feeling guilty for rooting for myself because I was forcefully after him. And I wouldn't say like her, she just wasn't there. So I'm really talking about my dad on like this episode. Because I was forcefully after him like for years. Like I was the one being sent money to go and get cashier checks to make sure the rent got paid. And I wasn't the only adult in that house that, that was capable of doing these things. I was the one having to get off work at like 10 o'clock and go get food on my way home. And some people may be like, oh, well, that's so small. But it ain't even about that, right? It's not even about that. But it's like he just wasn't a nice man. So it's like and this most time I wouldn't even eat this stuff because I just didn't want to hear him be like, I feed you and I do X, Y, and Z because like he did it a lot. My grandma did a lot too. They could do one thing for you and they will bring it up all the time. And I don't know when it was or when I like stopped eating like at home. I think if I like cook something, I would eat it because I'm like I made all this stuff out for y'all. Of course, I'm gonna get some. Well, I think I stopped eating at home when I was like probably 16, 17. I was still in high school. I would eat breakfast like at school and I would eat before I got home like from work. Just because I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. None of that. I just wanted to be left alone. I did not want to be bothered by him. I avoided him at all costs. I would close the door when we moved into like a bigger house because we stayed in just the raggediest house when I was like throughout my like high school career. We struggled really, really bad. But yeah, I was just like avoid him. I didn't want him to say he did anything for me. I would buy my own clothes. I would pay my own phone bill. And you know what? Me being independent is a story for a different podcast. Because I'm like this for a reason. I don't like anybody throwing anything up in my face. It could be the tiniest thing. I don't want to hear it. But I was essentially looking after like him. And of course, like my siblings, I didn't really mind like so much. I just kind of, they didn't really have a voice either. They were here while all this bullshit was happening. But when I started to care for myself, I just felt guilty. It felt strange, and I'm still learning how to do it because I had looked after him for so many years, so many years. From the time I was on the third grade, like I started cooking really, really young, right? And thank goodness I fell in love with it, but that was a chore. That was a chore because he made it seem like everybody else was crippled, and then I did such a good job, like just like boosting my head up so that I would feel better about doing these chores. It's sick. It's ridiculous. It gets worse, but I'm not gonna disclose everything. Um, but nowadays I'm learning to practice self care. I'm learning how to love myself genuinely, and I'm learning how to maintain healthy relationships and boundaries. I have an amazing support system nowadays that keeps me motivated day in and day out. Because sometimes family isn't blood. It's not always blood, related people who are family. But it's those who see greatness in you and want to help you grow and succeed. No one that loves you will put you down and hurt you. Simple as that. Because love is kind always. And you matter always. Always. And if it's someone around you that always makes you question who you are at your core, well, you know you're a great person. That person should not be there. Because love does not hurt. Love is not toxic. That's not meant to cause you pain. Parents are meant to love you always. Parents are not perfect, right? And mine, we're far from perfect. But the hurtful part about it is that these people would treat other people's kids like the light of their lives with so much kindness and respect and gratitude. So that's how I knew what they were doing was intentional because they knew the right answer. And me and my siblings saw that. I think that's like the most hurtful part about it all. Because people always say, "Oh, parents make mistakes." I know that. I know that. I know people make mistakes. I know nobody is perfect. But these people in particular knew right from wrong. This month has essentially showed me that I hadn't healed from that. That I hadn't healed from it because it just felt like a wound was being opened again and it hurted. It hurted real bad. I always get called the strong one. I always get called the strong one. And like I know essentially it's a compliment, right? But at the same time, it's it's a little unsettling, and I'm going to tell you why. And this may not make sense to you, but sometimes when I'm like being called like strong by people or like by friends, I'm not going to say who else has said this. It's like they give me more things. They feel like I can handle it because I've been through worse. But it is going to sound silly. I'm not strong because this is just something that I woke up and decided that's what I want to be. I'm strong because I had no choice. Like, if I could live like a normal life, you know what I'm saying? Like, parents just like looking after me and all that stuff, and being able to like run to them when life is hard or whatever, I would do that. But for my situation, it's different. It's like I had to, if I wanted to see another day, and if I, you know, wanted to succeed and not like succumb, because sometimes like things like that tend to like break people like down to where it's like recovery is not even like a thing or whatnot. But I've always known that I wanted more. And me being strong and me being resilient is how I'm able to live the life that I currently live, which is a great life, right? I'm so thankful. I have a good job. I've been in my job for a long time. I have great people in my circle, but it's like I worked hard for I've had to work really hard for everything like around me. Nothing was given to me. Ain't no handouts, ain't no handouts were given. And I'm not looking for sympathy or none of that. But check on your strong friends, check on your strong siblings because it's far from easy out here. It's far from easy. My best friend just told me like, what do I need like from her in this moment? But I can't even think of anything because my mind is going a mile a minute after hearing that my dad has always hated me from somebody like a trusted source. I'm like, how do I go on? And I'm like, does that make me weak because I don't have an answer now? Like, no, it doesn't. But baby, I I've been like a piece of glass all month. I felt so fragile because I don't want to be the strong one. You know, like those memes when people say, "Oh, like God don't pick me. I don't want to be the strong one." That's me. That is me. Okay, like I'm sick of it. It's so challenging, but I know life goes on, and I will be okay. I will be okay. This month I've isolated myself so much, but I've told myself that once this month is over with, we're gonna keep going. Like we're not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep trucking forward. I didn't come this far just to come this far. I think I got all of my thoughts and stuff out. I didn't even finish my makeup. Usually I would be done like by now, but conversations like this just require me like to really like focus and you know, yeah, focus and dig deep. And sometimes I can't multitask, I can't do both. Gotta pick one. So I chose this over doing my face today. I'm gonna finish it at some point. But if you're listening to this and you've been through similar situations, feel free to share them in the comments. This is a safe space. And this is a safe space and we will get through this together. You are not alone. I'm here for you, and I'm pretty sure you're surrounded with love. And it may not be from like your parents or from the person that has hurt you, but people out here care about you. And I've learned that I have great people that care about me as well. I'm so thankful for my community and the life that I live. And yeah, I'm gonna be all right, and you will be too. Okay. Okay. With that being said, that wraps up this episode. I hope you liked it, and I hope that you share with someone who needs to hear this in order to keep moving forward. I am a living testament that you will be okay. And recovery is not a rapid process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Give yourself grace. I'm taking a month. If you need to take longer, do that. But please don't give up and please keep moving forward because, like I said, this life is beautiful and we all have so much more life to live. Every day that we wake up, we are given a second chance. Oh my God, I dropped my phone. Hopefully, that wasn't too loud or anything. But yeah, have a lovely Memorial weekend. Stay safe, stay hydrated, go check on your strong friends, and have a fantastic week. See you next Monday.